Cuphead and Mugman are in a real pickle, and it's going to take fast thinking, dice rolling, and a little luck to get them out as you move, shoot, and parry your way through harder and harder multi-stage boss battles. Think you're up for the challenge?
Welcome back to Kids Pointing. I'm Payne, this is Jared, and today we're going to teach you how to play Cuphead Fast Rolling Dice Game.
In Cuphead, players join forces, rolling dice and battling through 8 unique boss decks and unlocking new surprises along the way in this fast-paced dice rolling game for 1 to 4 players from the op, who helped sponsor this video.
The game includes player boards, dice, the boss board and health dial, wallop cards, tokens, boss decks, and super rare envelopes. To set up the game, each player picks a character and takes their player board, 5 regular dice, and 1 black EX die. Your player board has spaces for health, parry tokens, and weapons. Everyone starts with 3 health and the pea shooter weapon, and you can buy new weapons as you play through the game. Put the parry, time, and coin tokens in a pile where everyone can reach them. Then put the boss board in the middle of the table with the boss health wheel. Shuffle the wallop cards and put them under the boss board. Then it's time to set up the boss deck.
Each boss deck is in its own box, and you don't open the box until you beat the boss before it. So we're going to start with boss deck 1. Take all the cards out of the box, but don't shuffle them. Each boss deck has multiple characters and needs to be played in order. The cover card tells you the order everything is in, so you can put the deck back together when you're finished with it. Remove the cover card and any additional rule cards that are on the deck. This one doesn't have any new rules, but as you get farther into the game, new boss decks will introduce new challenges, and those will be explained on a rules card on the top of the deck.
Next, take the boss card and put it in the base. The boss card shows the name, the phase, and the boss's health, which is based on player count. So for 2 players, we'll set the health to 8.
The boss decks are divided into phases, and they're separated by the king dice cards. So take off all of the phase 1 cards and stop when you get to the purple card that says STOP! Do not go any further! Shuffle the phase 1 cards and put them on the draw side of the boss board, then put the rest of the deck to the side for now.
Now it's time to play. Each round is timed, so you need to decide if you're using a 10, 15, or 20-second timer. You might score bonus points if you use a shorter timer, but it's going to be much harder.
The game has 8 boss decks, and inside each deck there are multiple phases. This is phase 1 of this deck, and there's 3 phases total in deck 1. In each phase, you'll play a series of rounds, revealing new attack cards each round, and trying to not only protect yourself from the attacks, but hurt the boss in the process. When you defeat this boss, you'll move on to phase 2, where you will reveal the next boss and their attack cards, and do it all over again until you beat all the bosses in the boss deck or you lose.
To set up the round, flip over the top 3 attack cards and put them on the empty spaces on the boss board face up. If you reveal a wallop card like this one, turn over 1 extra attack card. So 4 total if there's a wallop card. Each attack card has 1 or 2 icons at the bottom that shows what each player needs to roll to avoid the attack.
So here's how a round works. First you start the timer, then everyone starts rolling and assigning dice as fast as they can. And you can use the black EX dice like a normal dice, but it can also have some special abilities if you use it in the right place, which we'll talk about later. The 4 spaces on your player board match the 4 spaces on the boss board. The goal is to match all of the icons on the bottom of the attack cards to avoid taking damage, and also to assign extra shoot dice to damage the boss. So since this card just needs 1 jump icon, I can use this extra slot for a shoot dice.
If an attack card shows a shoot icon like this one, then just matching that doesn't damage the boss. You would have to use a second shoot dice to damage the boss. And there has to be a space available to assign a shoot dice. So if a card has 2 icons like this one, you can only avoid damage on that card. You can't hurt the boss.
So you're going to roll your dice and see which ones match the cards. You can assign as many dice as you want each roll, and there's no limit to how many times you can roll, as long as there's time left.
And when you roll, you have to roll all the dice that you haven't assigned yet.
But there's a few rules to assigning dice you need to know. Once a dice is assigned, you can't take it back or change it, and you have to assign your dice in attack card order from left to right. Once you've assigned a dice to the next card, you can't go back and assign it to a previous card. That means that if I put this dice on card 1 and then I put this dice on card 2, I can't go back and put a shoot dice on card 1.
You can use as many dice as you want from your roll. If the card requires 2 dice, like this one, they can be from the same or separate rolls. And the order of the icons on the card doesn't matter as long as you have the right dice assigned. So for this card, it doesn't matter if my dice are like this or like this, as long as I have the icons right.
And if you're having bad luck and can't get the dice you need, you can choose to take the damage and move on to the next card. Sometimes it's better to take 1 hit to avoid taking 3 hits. But remember, once you start assigning dice to the next card, you can't assign any more to the ones before it. So players are going to roll and assign dice as quick as they can until the timer goes off and the round ends. Once that happens, it's time to see how you did.
When the timer ends, you can still use dice you've already rolled, but you can't make any new rolls.
Then everyone resolves the boss attack cards from left to right. Every player resolves the boss cards on their own. If you assigned all of the matching dice to a card, then you avoided that attack from the card. If you didn't, then you take 1 damage from the card, so you removed an HP token. So in this example, I would take 1 damage because I had these 2 matched to these cards, but I didn't get the dice that I needed on the 4th card, these 2.
And I would take 1 damage for this first card here.
If the card only had 1 icon and you assigned a shoot dice to the extra slot, deal 1 damage to the boss on their health wheel. So I had damaged the boss once here because I was able to dodge it here and then I got a shoot dice here. So I do 1 damage.
You only hurt the boss if you avoid the attack and have shoot dice. So even though I have a shoot dice right here, I don't damage the boss since I didn't have the dice I needed to avoid the attack.
And remember, you resolve each card separately in order from left to right.
The black dice is your EX die. If you deal damage with it, you might deal more than 1 damage. Check your weapon to see what the EX dice does. In this case, I still have the basic pea shooter, which says that regular dice do 1 damage, and the EX die does 2 damage.
Each weapon has a special EX attack ability, so as you get new weapons, be sure to check what those are. If an attack card says to gain 1 parry and you successfully avoid that attack, take a parry token and add it to your board. You can use these to revive another player later on if they've lost all their health.
Wallop cards don't deal you any damage, so if you do no dice or even the wrong dice, it doesn't hurt you. But if you assign a Wallop dice to a Wallop attack card, you get to draw a Wallop card. You can also assign shoot dice to Wallop cards, but they only do damage if you also assigned a Wallop dice.
You can use a Wallop card as soon as you get it, or save it for later. Wallop cards may show a special ability or a dice icon. If they have a dice icon, they can be used by any player in place of a missing dice that matches the card when you're resolving the attack cards. Once you use a Wallop card, put it in a discard pile next to the Wallop deck.
And if the Wallop deck is ever empty, just shovel the discard pile.
If you've resolved all the attack cards and the boss still has health left, discard the attack cards on the board and reset it for the next round. If you go through the whole attack deck but haven't defeated the boss, shuffle the discarded attack cards and continue the fight.
As soon as you get the boss's health to 0, they're defeated!
This happens after the card that defeated the boss is fully resolved by all the players, since you resolve cards in order from left to right. Any damage to the players caused by the card that defeated the boss still counts, but any cards after that card are ignored.
So on this round, we hurt him 3. My EX dice, which hurts 2, and Jared's normal dice, which hurts 1, which is 3. And that took his health down to 1. And on the second card, I hurt him 1 with my normal dice, which took his health down to 0.
But I still take damage for the second card because you fully resolve the card that you beat the boss on. But because we beat the boss on the second card, the third card doesn't matter. So even though I didn't get the third card, I don't lose any health. So once you resolve the card that defeats the boss, you ignore the rest of the cards, including any that would give you rewards, like Wallop Cards or Parry Tokens. Once a boss has been defeated, set the boss and their attack cards aside, take the stop card off the deck, and set up the next boss just like the first. If a player ever loses all of their health, they're knocked out. They have to discard all of their parry tokens, and then a teammate has to spend a parry token to revive them. The revived player will return to the game at the start of the next round with 1 health, and won't be affected by any remaining attack cards that are resolved before they return. So since I got knocked out on the first card here, I wouldn't get the parry token for this card, even though I resolved it with the correct dice. And I also wouldn't be able to shoot him because I got knocked out on the first card and shot him on the second card. Once these cards are resolved and the next 3 are revealed, that's when I will return to the game.
If someone loses all their health and nobody else has a parry token to revive them, the players lose.
If that happens, everyone discards their parry tokens and Wallop cards, resets to full health, and starts over at phase 1 of the boss deck. Once you defeat all of the bosses in the deck, you'll see the knockout card. This means you won the final phase of the boss battle. The knockout card shows how many coins each player gets as a reward, and below the knockout card, you'll find Porkrind's Emporium, which has upgraded equipment and charms that players can purchase with their coins. At the beginning of each boss deck, players can choose 1 charm to equip and 1 weapon to use in place of their pea shooter. The ones you choose must be used for the entire boss deck, so choose wisely.
and weapons and charms don't get used up. After you buy them, they're available for the rest of the game.
To equip a weapon, put it over your pea shooter. That weapon will replace the pea shooter for that entire boss deck. There are also 4 super art envelopes that can be opened when certain requirements have been met, which are on the outside of the envelope. In addition to 1 charm and 1 weapon, players can also equip 1 super art, but just like weapons and charms, they can't be changed during battle.
Once you knock out the boss, it's time to score.
The whole team scores together, and you get 10 points for each remaining health token, 5 points for each remaining parry token, 5 points for each unused wallop card, 10 points if you used a 15-second timer, 20 points if you used a 10-second timer, and you lose 10 points for each time token that you took during the round, which won't come into play until later boss decks. The back of the rulebook has a chart that tells you your grade based on player count, and you can record your score on a save sheet, as well as any notes for your next game, like any weapons or charms you purchased and how many coins you have. The rulebook also tells you how to reset the boss deck so you can play them again.
When you're ready to fight the next boss, open the next deck and set up just like deck 1.
Some bosses introduce new rules that will be on a rules card at the front of the deck, so be sure to read those carefully when you get to them.
And that's Cuphead Fast Throwing Dice Game. If you have any questions, or if you have a game you want us to teach, leave us a comment. Thanks for watching.
And be sure to subscribe right here.
And watch some of our other videos over here.
See you later.
Bye!